Do you dream of owning multiple businesses? Our guest is Francis Almeda, and he is a serial entrepreneur out of Chicago running Side Practice Coffee, Drip Collective, Kanin, Novel Pizza Cafe, and so much more. In this episode, we talk about the story of Novel Pizza Cafe, the power of partnerships, and how to preserve your time to work on the things that matter most. This is an amazing episode, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And remember to always ask, what's good, dough?
Well, shit, man. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, honored to be here,
I'm
man. It's a
honored,
pleasure to meet you in person.
Likewise.
It's crazy because I think I've been following your content ever since we started making pizzas. I don't even know when I started following you. That's the thing. It's
Might have been the pandemic.
This like organic thing of happening, and then you hitting us up, wanting to feature our pies and just the business. So it's really all of this whole like pizza journey has been. I'm sure you know, but it's like, it's just magical.
It is.
Like doors open, opportunities come.
Serendipitous, I call it sometimes.
Yeah, because it's such harmonious. It's such a small world that if you're able to like make some sort of an impact, you start to meet the people that you were listening to or like learning from. It's like, never would I imagine that would happen.
No, but you got to be open to that type of shit. Because there's some people who just do their own thing. They're not. They want to build by themselves.
Agreed.
And you're on the far end of that spectrum where you build with everybody else.
Yeah, and that's. I think that's just a part of who I am, and I think I read this or heard this the other day, and it rung true to me because it's like business is a team sport. Like I think. Never have I worked at a place where it's like, it's only one person. You're working always on a team, no matter wherever you're working. So now as an entrepreneur, I don't know where it came to be. It's like you had to do everything yourself. That's just not sustainable. One, you're not going to grow if you continue to do that. But, and you're just not going to have fun. So it's so business is a team sport. Everyone has their role. Let them play it. And just watch the magic happen. That's how I like to approach it.
I used to fantasize opening up a shop by myself, doing the whole Anthony Mangieri, even like people who've been on the podcast. My buddy Craig runs a shop in Portland, and at first he was running it all by himself, and I fell in love with that idea. Yeah. But as I've watched his journey grow, he has helped one person. And then it went from one person to three people. And like he still claims like, I do most of the pies myself.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah. But like you said, you can grow with other people and you're not killing yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all just dying slow deaths here.
We really are.
But we can accelerate that with stress and time and just overwork.
So yeah, I do think there are like, I'm beginning to see like two different types of entrepreneurs. It's like ones that are good at delegating and want to delegate and want to grow that way. But there are also some that just want to be at the shop and work and grind. I just know that that's not me. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's such a beautiful life to live, finding like your craft and wanting to do it every day, because now you're in the zone, you're in this like flow state. And that's kind of, from what I've read, it's like, that's what's at least part of what makes you happy is finding your flow state in life. And for those entrepreneurs that are able to find that and do that, I think Japan is like a really good example of that. People really finding that one thing that they really love and working on that. I think that's so beautiful.
Ikigai.
But the way my brain works, that's just not how it works.
No.
I got to be with my kids. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they call it Ikigai in Japanese, right? Yep. And we did a podcast on that with Jenna from Singapore, who like found her life's work through pizza.
It's awesome.
And then, a couple years later, she left her nutrition job to do her pizza private dining.
Cool.
In her home, and now she's going into restaurants. And it's really just being open to that, like what is, and self-awareness, like what is my flow state, what makes me happy.
Yeah. And
your flow state could be just running a bunch of businesses.
Totally. Yeah, it's true. It's like because I did struggle with that. I was like, well, I'm not making the pizzas, I'm not making the coffee at my shops.
Yeah.
what's my flow state? So now I think the trick for me, or what I'm trying to learn, is like, is me and you right now, is this my flow state? You know, like how can I be in a constant flow state of just being able to do what I do throughout the day? You know, it doesn't have to be like really just head down making a pizza. Can it just be my everyday work? And that's just, that's going to take practice, I think, a lot of meditation and being present, you know. So that's what I'm working on right now. I can't say that I nailed it, but I'm doing it. Yeah.
I feel like you're very present right now.
Oh, thank you,
I feel
brother.
like
Thank you.
Yeah, and first line that I have on my notes here is, you have hella businesses. That's why you're not in the kitchen.
That's a good one. Whoever said that is right. Yeah.
Because we were trying to like link up at this is a pizza and business first podcast, but it's I just want to talk to dope people.
Yeah, thank you.
And I was like, yo, let's meet at Novel. And you were like, no, I gotta coordinate with the two other people who are making the pizza. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get it. Like, that's not his lane. Mm-hmm. Your lane is to assemble the team, find the opportunities, bring people together to make it work.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm a serial entrepreneur who helps aspiring entrepreneurs start something. Yeah. That's what I do best. I make people's dreams come true. You're going to tell me your idea. You better be ready and buckle your seatbelt, because that idea is going to happen. And that's happened through Novel, through Drip Collective, through here at Conan. It all started out with not only, me contributing to the idea, but if you're going to tell me your concept, it's like, it's going to turn into reality, especially if I have something to do with it. That's just not me being cocky or whatever. That's just, I know that's my strong suit, is making things a reality. So now that I know that that's kind of like my path in life and this entrepreneurship journey, that's what I'm going to just focus on. I just actually been rehearsing that today. So it's funny that you asked me that, because it's like you're trying to figure out your pitch. In terms of like, people ask you, what do you do?
Oh, man.
All the time.
All the time.
So I could easily say like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur that has Side Practice Coffee, Drip Collective, Conan, Del Sur, and just businesses. But it's not, I'm sure people will get intrigued by that, but like saying something like I'm a serial entrepreneur that helps aspiring entrepreneurs build something or start something. That now we're going to talk about something. Now it's like people even listening to this hopefully will be intrigued and be like, oh, I have something to start. I want to talk to them. Now I'm kind of getting this hook, and people will start to know me as that. So I'm kind of just working on what I tell people.
That's
I
your
do.
Brand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is my brand.
Yeah.
It is. Yes. Just trying to be very clear and actionable on how I approach whatever I do, whatever it is I do in life, Anyways, yeah, that's my rant on pitching what you do. Yeah.
What is it about having multiple versus just one for you?
I grew up in my professional career in advertising, and when you're in advertising, you got a partner. I'm an art director or creative director, and I have a writing partner, and you and your partner are assigned like 4 or 5 projects at a time. You're never working on just one, and you're in it. Like you're coming up with concepts for every single project, and that just grew with me. So I'm not used to working on just one project at a time. And I think I brought that kind of mentality and work ethic into entrepreneurship. I think just having multiple things keeps my brain fresh, and nothing ever becomes stagnant. But then being able to have people in teams in each one of those, doing the majority of the work, to be honest, is helps me out a lot. The day to day, and it just keeps life interesting, and each business could help each other out in terms of promoting whatever they're trying to create at that moment, but also just being able to build something, little special things in the city is really important to me, And Side Practice has made quite big of an impact in the city, but having little things in each little neighborhood has been awesome, and really grateful for it, you know.
Are you running a pizzeria in this day and age? If so, your cheese costs are probably killing your margins. As someone who's talked to hundreds of pizzeria operators, I've seen this story play out many times. Here's what most pizzerias don't realize. Baccio isn't just selling you cheese, they're actually paying you to use premium cheese through their rewards program. Think about that. Better quality and cash back on every order. That's why I'm seeing more and more pizzerias switch to Baccio. They're getting the perfect cheese pull while actually improving their bottom line. Don't just take my word for it. Schedule a demo today and let them know What's Good Dough sent you. See how quality and profitability can actually go hand in hand.
Let's talk about Side Practice real quickly.
Yeah.
Because is that the first business?
So the first business before that was called Rep and Pins. It's like this little enamel pin business that pins that people wear in their hats and bags and jackets. But that started in 2016. So this wasn't even food related. But I would sell those pins at different shows and art fairs like Renegade Fairs here in the city. Not only in Chicago, but I travel all around the nation selling these pins. So what starts to happen is I'm starting to build this network of like entrepreneurs and like-minded folks. So that was the first business. Fast forward 4 years later, 2020, I've always wanted to open up a coffee shop, and kind of thinking and brainstorming on what the concept could be, and side projects have been a huge part of my life. Not only like with that little pin business, but in the advertising world, I was always brought on to people's side projects. Like I was just always on that team, whether it's because I could design or animate, or it's because I could execute and make that dream or that idea into a reality. It's just been this thing that's been following me, side projects that is. And then so that was the easy concept for what was then Side Project Coffee. Then we turned it into we changed it to Side Practice Coffee later on. But that happened in 2020. And with all this network that I've built with Rep and Pins, I was able to feature all of them in the shop, able to feature my friends and family, whatever they were working on, whether I helped inspire them to start something on the side, and then feature my little projects, including Rep and Pins. So that's the story of Side Practice. That was in 2020, and since then we've showcased people all around the city, and have become like this starting point for entrepreneurs and makers and artists to really just showcase what they've been working on for free. Just like come by, pop up, and learn from it. And then been doing that since 2020.
It's sort of an unofficial incubator for businesses.
100%, yeah.
People can say, hey, I have a pizza pop-up, which actually happened.
Yeah.
And they bring it over to Side Practice Coffee.
Right.
And say, I'm going to sell pizza here, whatever hours you guys agree on.
Totally. Yeah, we're very like flexible and work with you and promoting it as well. You know, we got our own kind of following on Instagram. You got your own following. We'll bring people here. You just got to bring whatever your craft or your project is. And people, the nice thing is when people pop up at SPC or Side Practice Coffee, then they start to kind of branch out and pop up at other places around the city, just because people start to notice, like, oh, dang, this was a cool pop-up at SPC. Let's try to get them in our shop. Or they go off and open up their own brand and start selling. Like I think one was Milky Milk ice cream. She was one of our first pop-ups during Filipino History Month, and she blew up. And now she's in little boutique grocery stores across the city. You know, such a wonderful thing to kind of see it start at Side Practice and then eventually bloom into whatever they want it to be. And it doesn't have to end up that way. I'm just saying people grow from here, which is cool. Yeah. Novel Pizza Cafe being one of them.
Before I take that assist that you gave me,
yeah.
I want to know, what's that moment going to be like for you when you see some either ice cream pop-up that started or novel pizza pop-up? Like, give you that shout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they have their moment, they're riding that moment, and they're like, I want to thank my mom, I want to thank my spouse, and I want to thank Francis fucking Almeda.
Yeah, that's
You ever think about that?
I never thought about it because that wasn't like the goal. You know, it wasn't the goal to get like. I just didn't know. I just knew that I wanted to help entrepreneurs and have this shop be a part of that. But to be able to get to a point where these entrepreneurs are thanking, you know, the shop and me for, you know, being a part of their journey, it's just something that I didn't even dream of. And it all of a sudden makes everything a little bit more clear and meaningful, and having a purpose in what I do, you know, because side practice can easily just be a cafe. It could just sell coffee and pastries.
Right.
You know, let's just do that. But to be able to not only be a good quality cafe, but to be able to be a unofficial incubator of sorts and help the community in some sort of way, that's just, it's really something beautiful.
Before we move on, can I just ask one practical question? Like, helping entrepreneurs aside, feeling a love that you have to help others, is there anything like that you can see from a business perspective that would help encourage others to take on this sort of thing at their shop?
I think being able to you know, provide and teach others just presents even more opportunities for that business. You know, it's one thing to kind of stay in your lane and ignore everyone, you know, and ignore everyone who's kind of picking your brain about things, and you just do your thing, which is totally fine. But if there's a lane where you could put your head down and work still, but also help those along the way, man, more opportunities will come up.
100.
And you sooner or later you're going to open up your fifth business within 5 years, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But that's the beauty of it. You know, you want the doors. Not only are you helping people, but they're helping you at the same time. So
I see that.
Opportunities will arise, and the more people that you meet, it's what a fun and beautiful journey, you know, that'll be in your entrepreneurship journey. Just because it's like, that's what it's about. Just helping people and meeting people, and all getting to where we want to be. You know, because we can't do it on our own. This new shop, which I'm not going to try to assist you in, we're sitting in Conan, the newest concept, which is going to open up next month. But the tagline for this is everybody eats. And that comes from a food standpoint. It's like, whatever, we're going to feed everyone in the room. But there's also this conceptual standpoint based on the ethos of side practice, is like, everybody eats. If we're going to be successful, we're going to showcase people here as well, but different chefs and different residencies, but everybody eats here, you know, like if we're going to showcase our food, you're going to be able to showcase your food here too.
While we're on the topic, not to mention, Conan is right next to side practice, and literally if you want people to stay at side practice longer because they need sustenance, you can now provide food from Conan. So everyone eats, but also the people at side practice are going to eat.
More importantly, from a business standpoint, those people
I'm sorry to just ruin this like beautiful moment we're having here about making our own business.
Though.
I want people to see that the reason I talk to you is not only because of, you know, what I see is a great human trying to lift everyone up, but also is a very tactical and strategic person in the business world. And I think that's what we're trying to listen to this podcast about, is that we're trying to learn from others, and like I want to showcase the learnings that I've gotten from you so far. So I mean,
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So let's showcase the pizza. I think people are waiting for that.
Yeah.
It's like, I first heard of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard of Novel Pizza back in the day, but I'm assuming that was the pop-up at Side Practice.
Correct.
It was like, you have a bunch of Instagram accounts on your on your IG.
Well, too many, yeah.
A little, maybe. I don't think it's
maybe 7, but you know.
Maybe 7. Okay, so I was a little confused for a minute.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few months ago to a year ago, I'm seeing the novel pizza is like
that's cool.
becoming more active, and I'm just like, and then Steve Dolinsky reviews the longanisa and jarred pizza, and I'm like,
cool.
oh shit, something's moving over here.
Yeah.
And you guys opened up an official spot.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with the business partners. Ryan Catolico, who's my cousin. Enrique, or Grumsky as he's known, he's the chef of the whole joint. But it all started out as a side practice. Back then it was two different entities: Alico, which is Almeda, and Catolico, which is my cousin Ryan's last name, and we were selling kind of like these thicker pan pies. And then Grumsky who's grown up in pizza, in the pizza world, and making tavern style pizzas, real Chicago pizza, since he was in high school. And we were selling both of those pies at side practice on a super cold, wintry night. People were waiting outside for the pies, but we sold out immediately. That was in 2020.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you get a bunch of people to line up in the cold with it just being a pop-up?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer in showing your work. I think there's this book called from Austin Kleon. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but it's called Show Your Work. So when we're learning to make pizzas, we're already posting on Instagram, like whether they look shitty or not. Mm-hmm. At least people start to know that, oh, these guys are learning, mm-hmm. And then you could start see the improvement happening. So there was already this kind of following, and side practice being what it is. They're already gonna get a group of people to come out and support. So we started out as a side project at that shop one night, but I think through just us showing our work and side practice being a big part of that, that's what drew the crowd. I think honestly, I'm trying to answer that question, but I can't answer that question. Why did people show up? It's just showing love and support.
There's a lesson in here, right? It's
Yeah.
that like a lot of, as someone who's building in public myself, there are a lot of pizzas that I look back, and I probably even in the moment wasn't proud to post.
Yeah, totally. Yes,
but
correct.
It's like you got to get those reps in.
Totally.
You, at the end of the day, if from a vanity metrics, if the followers keep going up, that's a potential customer. So as long as you're not maybe damaging your account, whatever. I mean, the way the algorithm works these days, you put one thing out into the world you may not even be proud of. You just never know what's going to result from that. And
totally.
it's mostly going to be positive in my experience.
I agree.
So building in public, being shameless about not being a superstar pizza maker.
Correct.
Has probably yielded us both some good fortune.
Yeah, I do think people like story. And they want to see the story behind something, and you showing your work or your progress, and your process. Yeah, that's just a part of your story, And essentially, like, look, Novel has great pizzas, but they're also buying into the story of like just these three brown dudes making pizza. Do you know what I mean? It's like a Filipino Mexicans shop. Just these dudes making pizza. What a cool thing! And they're just like a pop up for now. This was back then where like pop-ups were growing. Now they're a thing, but it's like this underground thing that Novel started out as. And then after that, Novel started popping up all around the city. The biggest one being with our friends at Hidden. They got a little art center called Matters of the Heart, but Novel popped up there for a couple months, and from that point on, I think people really started to notice like there's this really this cool underground pizza shop. Let's go support. And then from that point on, you're building a brand. You're building a story. Yeah. That was a year and a half, a year or two before we opened up our brick and mortar. So by the time our brick and mortar opened up in 2024, people already knew us. People were ready for us to open up a shop. So that's the beauty of showing your work. You know what I mean?
That's my 10 a.m. Get your ass to work.
Oh yeah.
Because I have an hour where I'm like with the fam in the mornings. Yeah. And then it's like, hey, don't get distracted here. Let's get to work. So
that's cool, man.
there's so much lesson in that, and it's extremely relevant in my life today. Just because I was just talking about story and brand with John Carruthers yesterday at your pizzeria.
Yeah, great story.
I mean, he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen his website, he says, my pizzas are located in an undisclosed alley.
It's awesome.
You're probably not going to get one, something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, he
cool.
is, and he's a natural writer. But we were also talking about just some of the problem with social media today is that people will just post a product shot and expect business.
I know.
And it's like an account with 85,000 followers gets 100 likes and 0 engagement because it's just, there's no soul or story behind it.
Yeah. It's cool. I like seeing this journey of social media and how you're kind of promoting things, because you're right. Like, a year or two from now, you can just post a really pretty shot of your pizza or your drink and expect customers to walk in.
Yeah.
But I think just the way people are taking in content and now actually having like a connection with different brands and story, or different brands, story has a lot to do with that, because it's almost like I'm going to support this brand or this shop because like a lot of work was put into that drink or a lot of work was put into that pizza. I've seen it. And I'm going to go support that. And I think that's such a beautiful thing though, it's like goes now there's opportunity for the small guy to be able to share his or her story and her process and be able to, compete with big shops. It's all about, I think, just being genuine and authentic to what you want to bring to whatever you're trying to make. Yeah.
There's a huge opportunity for the small mom and pop, small guy, small gal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, you all do a phenomenal way of telling story and building connection. You guys have this like basketball in the shop to show off that you all are Bulls fans and were invited to the Bulls. You all have like your merch to show off that you're fly guys with swag.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it's like you're like, it's not just about pizza.
Correct.
But because it's not, all these little like olive branches make this one connection. It just makes the brand stronger.
Yeah, because in the end, in anything that I open, it's not just a pizzeria. It's not just a coffee shop. It's a brand and story that we're trying to build. And the moment entrepreneurs could figure that out, like, how is this more than a Filipino Hawaiian shop? How is this more than just pizza? That's when you're starting to build something really beautiful. And I think, the partners that I have at Novel, Ryan is, I call him, he is the best at connecting and collecting dots and connecting dots. And what I mean by that is like, I heard this thing in a podcast, it's ABCD to ABCD. Always be collecting dots, meaning people, connections, and experiences, to always be connecting them. And that's how I feel in my life has been. But Ryan, man, that guy could connect with anyone. It's really a talent of his. And he's going to take Novel into a whole new direction this year. He's traveling to New York, to hopefully Japan, but getting people connected with Novel. And it not only just becomes this little shop in Chicago, it's going to be, I think, something really special that we're all trying to build here. And with Gremsky holding down the shop with, really high quality pies, it's just this great team.
It's high quality.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been, it's amazing. It's amazing, the journey that Novel has been through and is about to get to.
I'm excited for it. And like, when you say my pizzeria is not just a pizzeria, you literally mean it's not just a pizzeria, because it's also dubbing as a cafe.
It is.
Like literally, bro. You're like,
Yes.
it's not just a space for entrepreneurs. It's not just a pizzeria. It's literally not just a pizzeria. It's also a cafe.
Yeah, it is also a cafe. We serve coffee all day, but I like concepts. Whenever I come up with something, I like bringing two concepts and combining them into one.
Tell me more about that, because like I don't see that.
Yeah, often. But that's what's. I think there's this thing where like everything's been thought of, or nothing new could come out of the creative world nowadays. But I think a way to go about that is like, how about you take an existing concept, a pizzeria, and another concept, a cafe, and combine them? Can you do something with that? Can you take Filipino food and combine it with Hawaiian food? Can you make something special with that? So everything that I like to open up nowadays, it's almost like two concepts are combined in one, because now it becomes a new concept. Even from a business standpoint, I could sell coffee during the day and sell pizza at night. So now you're like trying to cover all your bases on how you could bring in some income. But for the most part, conceptually, I like to approach brainstorming that way.
I can see that working when it works.
Yeah, totally.
Can you list potential traps for people who are skeptical that maybe want to implement this, but are scared, and maybe some traps to avoid?
I think pizza shop combining with a coffee shop is one of those. Like,
it's a trap?
It's like, oh, not a trap, but it's like, I think when we were opening it, a lot of people that I've ignored were like, well, I think people are going to be confused. Is it a coffee shop or it's a pizzeria? And I'm like, well, I think it could be both. It's two of my favorite things. It's probably two of your favorite things.
100.
You know, so what are we trying to prove here? Let's just try it out and adjust along the way. So, I think people get turned off. Like, will I want a coffee with my pizza? Maybe not. But can you come in during the day and have a coffee, and then come back at night, or another day and have pizza in the evening? What a cool shop to kind of go to. And you start to realize, or you start to see at Novel at least, people are ordering coffees with their pizzas. You know, as like a little after nightcap.
Yes.
You know, that's what I meant.
I saw it yesterday.
You did you?
Yeah. Somebody was eating pizza and then cleaned up their plate and then grabbed a coffee after.
Yeah, and just went home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They probably stuffed themselves with some delicious pizza and were feeling it, and they're like, damn, I gotta keep working, and I can't go to sleep right now.
Yeah, or it's the other way around, because our ovens are trying to keep up with the demand at the moment. So you might have to wait a long time. I hope that you didn't. But if you did, hey man, we got some pizza or coffee that you could just sit and chill. You got to do some work. Mm-hmm. Your pizza will be ready in a bit, but you could grab a coffee, a really good one, because it's curated by one of my other cafes, Drip Collective. They do the coffee curation or the drink program there at Novel.
So it's not the same coffee at all of the coffee shops? Or are you saying it's rotating?
Yeah, it is rotating. All of the coffee shops feature different roasters around the city and around the nation, but Drip Collective is led by my business partner Ty Banks, and he's one of the best at like not only creating like innovative drinks from coffee or tea, but also curating different roasters from around the city and nation. So to be able to take his expertise and help guide the program at Novel, that's what I meant. It's like all the coffee that we're serving there, all the specials that come out of there is kind of like directed by Drip Collective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we talk about, I'm curious about some things that, like, we've painted a really good picture here, but I'm also trying to break down some of that picture a little bit more for people who don't understand the pros and cons of having multiple businesses. And we've talked a lot about the pros, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of just want to prepare you and the audience for that, because I do want to talk about some of the cons.
Yeah.
But before we get there, 2 pizzas, 1 oven.
Okay.
2 styles of pizzas,
Yes.
1 oven.
I know.
And maybe that's one of the cons that we can start to get into.
Yeah,
We
sure.
talked about it. I looked at the oven. It's not very big, right?
It is not very big.
And not to like say, oh, your oven's small, bro.
Oh, fucking small.
But it's sometimes like we don't have a lot of space or the funds, and as people who are listening who are startups, like just get the oven that you can get going with.
Right.
But like you have one oven, looks like 2 decks, and then 2 very different pizzas, one that cooks relatively quickly and one that cooks a very long time.
Correct.
Where's the problem solving at so far? What's on your mind?
Well, what's on our mind is that we need a new oven. But
is it possible?
It is possible. It's in the works. The problem with our current oven is just it doesn't retain heat.
Sure.
It's like we every time we're opening that, it drops X amount of degrees, and now we're trying to play catch up.
But out of fairness, like some people say, we want a new oven, but they can't.
Totally.
Because they don't have the electricity or whatever.
We ran into that.
Okay,
so we were like, we're about to get a pizza master up in here.
Yeah.
We realized we didn't have the electricity.
Yeah.
We realized how much those cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't even own the building. So are we going to put in the work to upgrade our electricity and spend the money on this beautiful oven that I know we need to kind of build a business? But funds are 100% an obstacle at the moment. So, but the other thing is like, well, can we just get another gas oven that could house more pizzas and it's just better than this oven? So that's what we're actually going to do at the moment. There's this nice little middle ground that we're going to try to bring in this other oven that we found that's maybe $5,000. I'm like, come on, that's better than a $10,000 electricity upgrade to a $30,000 oven. Putting that in a building that we don't own. So you just try to work with what you got, man, and find the happy medium, and that's what we're doing at the moment. Yeah, man.
Yeah, resources, when they're not infinite, you just gotta be smart with it.
Totally.
And you just gotta allocate appropriately.
Man, one day we'll get that.
One day, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, I love Uni. They've supported me for very long. They've sent me a bunch of ovens, and the other day I ran into some issues because the wind was just gushing.
Yeah. And
fortunately, I had 2 other Uni ovens that had doors.
Yeah.
But my big main oven, it was running through some wind problems, and I was like, I could easily buy a $5,000 oven and not have an issue.
Yeah.
But bro, that's $5,000.
It really is $5,000.
And where could I allocate those chips, so to speak?
Totally.
And maybe it is allocating that, but right now I think if I can make it work, I'm in the mindset that I'm gonna make it work.
Exactly. We're in the same boat. And as long as our pizzas stay the high quality,
sure,
that's all that matters at the moment to us. Of course, we're gonna get feedback of pies take too long. Yeah. Why don't you guys do online ordering? Why don't you guys answer the phone? It's like, that's we're just not there yet. But also, is that the shop that we want to be? That's something that we're trying to think about too as Novel. Are we really going to try to open up our online orders and phone orders and really put even more stress on the staff that's on there right now? Or do we just stay in our lane, keep putting out quality pies, and if people understand that they're going to have to wait a little bit, they're going to have to wait a little bit. And that's just now. We're going to improve that. We're not trying to stay there, but I'm just saying, let's make strategic steps to where we want to be.
You know who Alex Hormozy is, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get there. He did this post recently about the baker who made zero money. He was like, damn, I'm not making any money, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sell more. Yeah. So he overworks himself, and he goes, instead of selling 50 loaves, I'm gonna sell 100. But he's working, and he's not making any money because part of that going to the 100 is more inventory costs, but also he's stressing himself out, so he feels like he's running in circles. So the baker gets this magical advice and says, instead of selling 50, sell 25, but double your costs.
Awesome.
And then he goes, oh crap, what happens if people stop buying?
Right.
I'm scared, I can't do it. But then finally, the person who gave him the advice convinced him, and so he does it. And so now he's living a more wholesome life, selling 25 loaves at double the price, making the same amount of money. Mm-hmm. But once he gets that locked at 25, he increases it just a bit more and makes even more money. And what and maybe even raises the prices again. But in the moral of the story is like, make less, more quality, and then you find your customers that understand and appreciate that.
I love that, man. I love that.
But it's a scary thought, though.
It is a scary thought because we want that. We want to keep selling. You know, we want to keep selling pies.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a. It's very streetwear-y, isn't it? You know, this whole scarcity factor in selling products. It's like we only got a limited amount. Not that we're doing that purposefully. That's just the nature of how our oven works and how much we can handle. But now it becomes this thing that people, you know, really want. So there's something in that too. But I love this story of like, because that's the way I think as an entrepreneur too. It's like, oh my God, we're out of money. What other ideas can I come up with to start to make more money? That's like my solution. Like, all right, well, what else can we bring into the fold here? But I like that way of thinking of making the same amount and just focusing on the quality of it and building from there. Something that I'm going to take. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's about doing less, and like, you don't have to pump more to get more.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Go ahead.
No, please.
Because I think to that point, like the way I run things, I know I have a lot of multiple businesses. It seems like I'm a busy man, but really my thing is like, I'm just not, my most important thing is my time. So that your story there, it's like, he's able to still make that same amount of loaves of bread, but not give up his time. And that's what I enjoy most about that story, is because I'm very, you have a kid, I got 2 kids. That time is my most important time. So is the moment I could see these businesses creep into that time, that's the moment I know I'm doing something wrong on this end, on the business end. So I try to manage things that way. Like, I just need to be really mindful of my time and smart about it. And which is why I have partners in teams that could run the shops without me. Like all these shops, they necessarily don't need me there. You know, I could give my thoughts here and there, but if I were to kind of take a break for a month, man, I'd come back and those shops would still be running, maybe even better without my input. But it's like, that's what you want to build, you know, at least that's what I want to build as an entrepreneur. I want to build businesses that run without me. And that's when I think I'm doing something right.
I think that's the name of the game for quote unquote owning a business, right? Is to have it run without you. Or right. The name of the game of entrepreneurship is like, you can create systems to where you can step back.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the cons of this and going back to a little bit of Alex Hormozi, I just want to hear your thoughts. Like, Alex Hormozi says like, oh yeah, I was running 7 businesses, but I was not making any money.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself questioning?
All the time.
All the time.
The time.
Does Francis ever say, man, if I just focused on the one, whether it's the one that I enjoy the most or the one that makes the most money?
Totally. It's definitely, it does quite that question of like, should I just focus on one thing at a time? And will that business benefit from it? And it doesn't matter which one's making money or which one I enjoy more, because I enjoy all of them. I do think about that quite often, but then what I start to think about is like will I be happy, you know, of just focusing on one thing? And the truth is, I don't know if I would be. As the way I run things as a creative, I like working on multiple things at once. Now, the way to go about this whole just focus on one thing is I do time gap things. So if I'm working on novel today, that's the only thing I'm working on. Tomorrow I'll get to drip. Then the next day I'll get to side practice. So at least I'm laser focused on that day. Because if I'm laser focused for like 2 or 3 hours, man, you
can bang it out.
I could bang it out, man.
That's deep work.
It's deep work. That equals about to like someone else's 10 to 20 hours of work. You know what I mean? So just
segmented, non-focused work.
Exactly. So that's just the way my brain works. But you hear that one thing of like, you got to focus on one thing and build that. My thing is, and then you start to hear things like, you got to own multiple assets, or to become wealthy, or like, I think, what's her name? She buys like boring businesses. Cody Sanchez. She's buying shit tons of businesses. She's not focused on one of those businesses. It's like, maybe there is like this transition period where like you're able to build something once and now you're able to like spread that out. I get that. Alex Hormozy trick. But man, I ain't got that time. I'm fucking 42, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be really smart with the time that I do have. But my superpower is delegating. I'm putting a lot of trust and giving ownership to all my business partners. They run the show. So it's not like I'm like, I am juggling quite a few things during the day, but I'm never at a point where like, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on each business, because I've trusted people to kind of run the rest of them, if that makes any sense,
It does. And this is why I look up to you as like a kuya in a way.
Thank you.
It's like, I don't think there's one way to do it. Maybe there are best practices, maybe there isn't.
Yeah.
But I sort of resonate with the way I resonate with the way you do things, because I also feel like I'm juggling, but I also want to see if I can make it work.
Yeah.
Because it does make me happy. Doing pop-ups, doing media, taking on social content clients, like being a dad,
Totally.
It makes me happy. And as long as I feel like I'm not unhappy, it seems like that's what we should be, monitoring.
Yeah.
Then that's a sign to keep on the path.
Exactly. And I do think like a couple things. That means you have to say no to a lot of things.
Oh my God, bro, I'm learning.
There was a point where I actually said no to podcasts or interviews, or I'm just like, I don't got that time. I'm trying to run some things. But now I recognize the importance of this. It helps all the brands. It helps me as a personal brand. But then I get to meet really wonderful people, behind the camera to help share my story or our story. So it's like this year is like the first year that I'm saying yes to all. You want me to go talk on your fucking panel? I'm gonna be there. You want me on your podcast? I'm gonna be there, because I do think it's very helpful in a really big way. But then you just gotta start saying no to some things, because once you start saying yes to some things, I think that's when trouble comes.
I said I had 2 consulting clients recently. I broke up with them because I knew I needed to focus on other stuff.
Yeah.
And my hourly rate with them was not enough to make it worth the distraction.
Right.
And then my client came back to me and I was like, hey, if you really want it, it's 10 times more. They said no, or they haven't said yes, but they haven't said no. But as a homie, I was trying to sell him to not take it.
Yeah, totally.
Because I was like, I don't want to take your money.
Yeah.
This is what you can do. But if you really want my time, this is what's going to make me get off my ass, because I'm trying to build other stuff that scales.
Yeah.
And just the one-on-one didn't scale for me.
Totally.
Nor was it worth the time.
Nope.
But I was like, if you really, really need me, and I'm giving you the resources now so that you don't need me. But if you really, really need me, this is the price. And I'm not trying to be a dick.
Yeah. Never.
I'm just trying to tell you, this is what will get me excited to be able to help you with that, very precious time.
Yeah. I run in that boat. I mean, that I know what you're saying, because it's and I'm very grateful for it. But a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs now are hitting up the DMs or like are texting me. And it's like, hey, can you sit down and have coffee? And if I said yes to every single coffee meeting, I would not spend any time on the businesses or with my kids. It's just me having coffee with wonderful aspiring entrepreneurs. And the thing is, I do want to help them, but I just don't have that time. And so my way about that, to go about that, is starting this online platform on school. SKOOL, called the Start Something Group. So now when someone wants to pick my brain about something, I'm just like, yo man, I just don't have that much time, but you could join my group here. You'll have direct access to me. You'll have direct access to the other entrepreneurs in my network. You can ask whatever you want, and I'll reply when I can. But now, and I do charge a little fee because you got to be respectful of my time as well. And now you're going to have to put in quality questions because you're paying for this monthly subscription.
But you're also getting quality answers.
Exactly. And you have, now you're in this network of other like-minded entrepreneurs. So that was my one solution to answer a bunch of 1,000 solutions. So it's just, that's one way of saying or saving time. At least that's how I've done it. Yeah.
I am considering that.
Yeah.
Because...
Dude, you should. Oh, sick!
Again, you're my kuya, man.
Put the link right here. I'm doing the
I'm a feature yours. You're more.
No.
You're established in that it's already live and present, and I want to learn about. I want to learn more about it. I'm curious. I'm not trying to get too distracted. It's still something I've said no to.
Yeah.
But it is an option because I want to help people too.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, totally.
And I want to build with others too, but I can't also help but feel selfish that I first need to build my own shit.
Totally.
And so it's like, is school the compromise for me personally? So I just wanted to put that out there because I do want to help folks.
And do you want to open your own shop, Ivan?
I want to be an owner more than an operator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I can partner with some folks, the goal was to always be financially free through food.
Yeah.
And so
that's great.
And food, specifically pizza.
Yeah.
But I started the podcast because my vision back then was, if I already have the audience, the following, the customers, I'm one step ahead of starting the pizzeria.
Yeah.
That is not the right or the wrong way to do it. But I've since, because I can totally argue that and say I should have just started it and built in public, right? And so there's no right or wrong way, but what I have fallen in love with since was doing this media. I've always wanted to be in food. I've always wanted to get paid to eat.
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm trying to build at the moment. But in that, I want to own a pizzeria because I want to share my love for food with others.
Totally.
So.
How cool, man.
Thank you.
No, I think it's good. It's like you're building this story right now.
Yeah. I mean, if there's an opportunity that makes sense for me to open up a pizzeria tomorrow, I will.
Yeah.
But it has to make sense.
Yeah. I agree.
Look, I wanted to ask you a couple of things before we wrap up here. And I think just to sort of sum up this whole thing is, if you're owning 7 businesses, what does you already explained your calendar, but how do you determine the key things that you work on? Right? What is your role essentially? Because I can see you as the problem solver. I can see you as the opportunity finder with Kanin. I can see you as the designer, because that's your trade. So does that sum up what your sort of day-to-day is, or is there anything else that you think is a key focus for you?
I think overall, every business needs me for different reasons, but from a higher level,
sure, that's what I want.
I do find myself being the one that just thinks of ways on how to grow the business. Even design, every shop actually has a little creative team, their own social media team, because you don't want me sitting down for. I mean, I would love to sit down for 2-3 hours designing, the next post, fucking figuring out the caption, but that's not the best use of my time. So the goal for me is what's the best use of my time for each business to get it to grow? Does that mean finding grants and filling it out for novel? And does that mean coming up with a new concept that Drip Collective can now showcase? It's like I try to approach it in a way like, because I come from an advertising background, concepts and ideas are one of my best creative strong suits. So let me do that. Let me come up with the ideas and concepts that will help grow and tell the story of each business. And when it comes to like little things in the menu, or not little things, but menu items, or what the schedule is going to be like, or the day-to-day of things, that's not me. Don't even ask my permission on what's being posted, by the way. It's just like, you think that's good, post it, because I don't want to be the bottleneck on decisions. Like,
but is there a feedback system for that?
There is a feedback system. If I don't like it, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna edit it myself. Or people do send me some things where they want to pick my brain on. But for the most part, it's giving that autonomy to your team. Like, give them the ownership and leadership of whatever their role is gonna be, because that's the only way I'm gonna be able to grow. To be able to grow leaders around me, you know. So. That's essentially what I'm doing. But again, you know, I don't know what I do day to day. I'm just trying to keep these places open.
One of my biggest, I've been lately tracking everything I put on my calendar.
Yeah.
Post event for my time blocks.
Cool.
Because I'm worried that I'm gonna have like a depressive state, thinking, what the fuck have I been doing for the last few weeks? And this allows me to just think and remember, like, oh, at this coffee shop, this is what I worked on.
Exactly.
Because it's easy to just be at a coffee shop and like get lost in the work and then forget about what you did, because you're so you're just so focused. So that's sort of my little trick that I've been doing to help calm me down, because I do feel like I'm doing a lot.
Yeah. But how do you do it? Like tactically, like physically, are you drawing it or like are you?
So on my let's say on a normal day, I'm scheduled to go. I scheduled a time block from 1 to 4.
Yeah.
And it just says, create content for X brand. Mm-hmm. And in that 1 to 4, sometimes I get done with creating content, and so I could easily just say, I created that content. But in my mind, I know that it only took me an hour. So what else did I do from 1 to 4? Right. And it's sort of like a little work journal.
That's cool.
So like, I'm like, oh, not only did I work on that brand, but I started the pre-production on my next podcast, or I started thumbnail design on this YouTube video.
Yeah.
So it just helps me remember that I'm not wasting my time, because I am guilty of wasting time in the past.
I get it.
It's so easy in this day. So.
Yeah, man. I there's this one, I don't have it, but I recognize that the value in it. I want like a big calendar. Oh. You've been getting hit with ads on Instagram with this?
I don't, but I just see the value.
Big calendar. And then so it's on the wall, right? So, and then imagine this, like me and you meeting right now. That's a very valuable experience for me. So I'm going to color code that like pink, whatever, meeting someone new.
Oh.
What happens at the end of the year and you're able to look at this calendar and I see all these like pink and that means I've done something right. That's such a beautiful thing to see.
I'm trying to remember who it was. I want to say it's the guy who wrote Flywheel.
Yeah. And you'll get it.
He'll come up, but he's
a
Good to Great.
Great talker.
Yeah. He wrote Good to Great, I think. But he basically self-analyzes each day a 0, 1, 2 system.
Is it that's Phil Collins? No. Oh, man.
Something Collins.
Okay.
Yeah. It's bothering me.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Phil Collins wrote the.
That's cool though.
Anyway, 0. He like can I see you falling in the night?
That's the guy. Yeah.
He basically like it's easy 0, 1, 2. I don't know what the system was, but I think 1 means he was satisfied. 0 means he needs improvement. 2, it's something else.
Yeah.
Maybe not satisfied. And so at the end of the year, if most of your years are 1s, it's looking back and think, thumbs up.
Yeah.
But if most of them are zeros and twos, it's a little,
That's
you
cool.
know, way to change.
I like that.
Simple.
Yeah.
But you can get a big ass calendar and
Yeah, fucking calendar, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final question for you.
Yeah.
Final two questions. How is it working with fucking Gary Vee?
Oh man. Man, all right. That's the first time anyone has ever asked that. It's cool. Because no one knows that I worked for Gary Vee or on his NFT project. It's called V Friends. I was really into NFTs when they were booming and a hot thing. I just, as a creative, I really like the opportunity to create like digital art and being able to make an income that way. What a cool thing as an artist. Unfortunately, it didn't catch on. Whether they're dead or not, I'm just not in it anymore. But at that time, Gary Vee had one of the biggest NFT project called V Friends. And I've been a big fan of Gary Vee. I read all his like books on leadership, and I like to say that I did carry on a lot of those like rules and guidelines on being a great leader. And I was like, I think he tweeted out like, he didn't even label it right. It was like, is there a website? Anyone wanting to be a website builder or a website skeleton builder? What he meant was a UX UI person, and I knew that right away.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I was at that time. I remember feeding my daughter. I was like, let me just send my resume and
which is clean,
site.
by the way.
Yeah.
I just want to give you I want to dab you up for that. Yeah.
And then I sent it to their their head of tech at that point. His name's Eric. Awesome human being. And he replied so this was 6 a.m. I was feeding my daughter. Send it off. I get a reply back at 11.
Shit.
It's like, love your work. Can we interview? 3 p.m. I get interviewed.
Shit.
6 p.m. I got the job.
What the?
Insane.
That's insane.
Insane. But that's how I worked. I work fast, and people that work with me, I work pretty fast. And now you could see like this like quick and nimble company, being able to hire like that. And so I was doing work for Google at the time. I left to be head of design for V Friends. Big title, awesome. And getting to work with his team there. Gary would be in some of the meetings, but not all of them. So he was very, he'll come in the room now. Everyone's listening to this dude. It's like people who work there also respect him as well. If
you are listening to this and this concept of like delegating and letting people do their thing is new to you, imagine it 100 times. If this is level 1 of delegation and business creation, Gary's at like level 100.
100%.
Right? And so he is the epitome of what you're talking about throughout this podcast.
Yeah.
He's giving people the ownership, running multiple things.
Yep.
He has probably a team of 100 people just making content for him or something like that.
Right, exactly. So it's like, unfortunately, I didn't get to have like more one-on-ones with him. My time there was very short, but you could, what I liked about working on his teams is just the people that were there. I was only there for a year, but they're all like at least the team that I work with, some of my favorite people that I've met in my life. And that kind of speaks highly of the people that someone like Gary can attract. It's like these really genuine and authentic, hardworking folks who are just wanting to do something fun and special. And I got to be a part of that for a little bit. Unfortunately, it didn't end out great for me at that company, but no hard feelings at all. I got to get away from the work that I was doing, try something new, and then be able to say that I work for Gary Vee is really something special and fun that I look back on my resume. But it wasn't. I don't think he knew that I was this kind of entrepreneur. There's a part of me that wishes that he did. But also, I'm just doing what I'm doing, So I'm not trying to get handheld from anyone or assisted by anyone. I'm doing what I want to do, and was happy to be a part of that team. Yeah.
It's all part of the journey.
It is all part of the journey.
Cool. Gary is the reason why I started this podcast.
No way. Awesome.
5 years ago, when I was wondering whether I should go work at a pizzeria again.
Yeah.
To learn about pizza, because I had already worked at one, and I quit because I was burnt out.
Yeah.
Working my full-time job and working the pizzeria. As God started making pizza at home, and then I was like, damn, I'm not progressing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go work at the pizzeria again. But then the pizzeria owner I interviewed with was like, dude, he was being real. He was like, dude, you just quit your job because you were burnt out. Are you gonna quit your main job to work with me?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I can't. I need the money.
Right.
And he goes, then you shouldn't work for me, man.
Yeah.
And he was just being real. And then like Gary was chiming back then in 2019, everyone should start a podcast.
That's awesome.
And damn, dude, that pizza maker who said you shouldn't work for me became my first podcast guest.
No way. What a fucking awesome story. And you're